Today I want to talk about buying raw land and the differences of buying raw land versus buying single family residential. One thing that you want to take in consideration when buying raw land is there's a lot of things that still have to be figured out about the land and about how you can build on top of it. So, for example, when you purchase a single family house or a condo, whatever, a lot of things have already been determined. So one, we know the zoning is something we're not really too worried about. We know that there's either sewer or septic. We know that there's either water or well. We know that there's electricity to the property. And these are all things that will have to be figured out when purchasing raw land. Another thing that you want to take in consideration when buying raw land is not only necessarily the zoning, which will determine what can be constructed there or can't be constructed there, but also is it within a HOA or homeowners association, which has governing docs. And a lot of times people don't know this. You could have a lot that is in a neighborhood and there's no HOA, but there's still what's called CCRs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Now, what this is these are rules that guide what can be erected on that property. And typically who's going to do this is the developer who's going to put these conditions and restrictions on this property. So for example, you could live in a neighborhood where there's no HOA, but they could say, for example, the minimum square feet of a house has to be at least 2,000 square feet. Or the homes that are going to be built in this subdivision have to be all brick houses. So there's lots of different determining factors when purchasing raw land that we have to take in consideration. So for example, someone sends me a lot. The first thing that I'm going to look for is I want to determine, is there utilities accessible to this lot? So where I live here in Waxhaw, it's kind of a little bit more rural outside of the Charlotte metro area. So we still don't have a lot of infrastructure when it comes to city sewer and water. So what people do is they're gonna, if there's no city sewer and water available, the next step is we want to have an engineer come out and see if we could put a septic system there. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna test the soil. So sometimes you can get a conventional septic system, and sometimes it has to be an engineered septic system, which is a little bit more expensive. And then sometimes the lot doesn't perk at all and you can't put a septic system in a way is unbuildable. The next thing that we want to check is if there's water. Depending where you are, there might not be water available. So you want to be able to determine if this place could have a well. And then the next thing you want to check is the zoning to see, what kind of building can be erected here, what's allowable. You want to check to see if it's also in a flood zone. And some people have this idea, you can't build in a flood zone. Kind of. There's flood zones you can build in. It's just the type of insurance you would have to carry on your house is going to be a lot more expensive than traditional homeowners insurance. So there's lots of various factors when buying raw land that we want to take into consideration, and it's very important to do your research when purchasing raw land.